In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
That was President Ronald Reagan in the cold open there, speaking to the General Assembly of the United Nations back in 1987. And yeah, I think he was right. You know, I believe that the nations of the world would put aside their differences if we were under attack from an extraterrestrial race from another planet. There's no question in my mind about that. I actually believe, though, that it's even more than that. I actually believe having a full UFO disclosure would bring us together, because no matter what, a lot of people just don't believe this right now. So no matter what happens, once the truth about the extraterrestrial presence is provided to the world, say someone the president of the United States or some officials in the Pentagon come forward and explain the whole situation and the evidence that they've collected over the years. And the world knows, okay, yes, there are extraterrestrials, and that's who's responsible for a lot of these UFO sightings. And here we have some of their bodies that were recovered in UFO crashes. And if all that stuff was to come out, I believe that a lot of countries would try to want to band together, be more like the United States, actually. How the United Nations is right now. There's some countries that really don't like the United Nations, but I think some of these countries would want to play a bigger part all of a sudden. Because a lot of these countries, a lot of people in our country, in the United States, are going to view this as a threat no matter what. No matter what, they're going to feel threatened. I mean, I actually believe that people who are racist, right, they live their lives in fear of other people just because of the color of their skin. They're always ginned up by certain news outlets on television, online, on the internet. They get ginned up about race. They're told nonsense just to get them all riled up and to believe that these people are bad, basically because the color of their skin. That basically it's all done through dog whistling, but that's what's going on. But if all of a sudden UFO disclosure occurs, that all changes, because everyone's going to want to know what's going on here. How many beings are coming here? How many different species of the racism would actually shift from among humans to what's coming here. That's what would happen. The humans would start coming together, no matter what the color of people's skin is. They'll come together. They'll look at it. They'll find a lot of these racists will start to look at the entire human race as all equal, rather than I'm superior to you. Instead of that will start going away, and again the focus will shift to these beings that are visiting us, that are a presence on our Earth, in our solar system, and whatever they're doing here, nobody knows. They're going to feel threatened by that. That will become the threat, and they're going to want to know. I mean, if full disclosure happened, this would be talked about at the top of the news hour every night on all the major news outlets that are there, all of them. And again, people are going to want to know about that. They're not going to be concerned about we're worried about these people coming over the border, getting ginned up. Or they're not going to be interested in that story. They're going to be interested in hearing about, what's the latest on these beings? That's what they're going to want to hear. And over time, racism will start to get crushed among the human race. I really believe that. Doesn't make me right, just my belief. I also believe that there will be many countries who we look at as enemies that will want to buddy up with us, and we'll want to buddy up with them, because there will be people who feel threatened, and they're going to want to work together to prepare for any threats from outer space. Now, personally, I don't think the human race would have a chance in any kind of war with alien beings coming here, because obviously if they're coming here, that means who knows how many years advanced they are than we are. I mean, it could be 1 million, 10 million, 100, 1 billion years more advanced than we are, and we just would have no chance against them. The technological gap would be so great that there would be no. If they wanted to get rid of us, they probably would have done it already. But who knows? Who knows what they're doing? Maybe they are getting rid of us, and we just don't know it. I mean, I don't know. There could be a threat. There might not be any threat at all. I mean, with the human race, you have to ask yourself this question. Is there going to ever be a time within the human race where we advance to a point where there's no more violence? Is there violence among aliens, among different alien races out in space somewhere? Is there alien races that are 100,000 years more advanced than we are, fighting amongst each other the way people fight here? I mean, look at just in this. I've been reading over the newspaper reading the news, not the newspaper, reading the news online over the past few days of the holidays here. And there's mass murders, there's massacres in Denver. Some maniac just going and killing 5 people, and then he gets killed by the police. I mean, and this is every day, all the time. I mean, if something's coming down here and they're looking at us, they're looking, look at these violent monsters. Look at the way they treat each other. It's terrible. It's terrible. But you have to wonder, are they like that too? I can't imagine. I can't imagine a race of intelligent beings continuing. And as their technology increases, and that means the weapons of war would become more exotic, and they would destroy themselves. There must be a point you reach as an intelligent race where all that stuff goes away. No more guns or violence, or there has to be a point, right? I don't know. It doesn't seem like the human race is ever going to reach that point. People talk about it all the time, but it's just never going to happen. I mean, there's just people just don't hate. For some reason, they're told to hate other people, and then finally some of these people snap and they go out and kill other people because they're told to, basically, in a dog whistle kind of way. So at some point, is the human race going to reach that point? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it right now. It feels like we're nowhere close to it. All the guns out there. We're pointing missiles at each other. Different countries pointing missiles at each other. When's this ever going to stop? What's the end game here? Just constant violence for no reason, for absolutely no reason. So I would hope that UFO disclosure would hopefully it marks the beginning of the end of conflict, of war, of racism. It would be a good thing in those respects. We need to get to another point here, folks. This is, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's time to bring this. We need to move on for our own good. Once the whole world realizes that, there are others out there and they're looking at us and watching us, maybe they're watching us and wait until we get to a certain point. When we start becoming a threat to them, is that possible? Yes, of course it's possible. When we start becoming a threat to them, that's when they're going to wipe us out. Maybe we're being observed to wait, and they're watching to see when we get to that point. I would imagine that we're nowhere near that point yet, but hey, they got to keep their keep tabs on us. But yeah, I would believe that the racism among humans would start to die out after UFO disclosure happens. Now, of course, there's going to be some people on the far right religious right and Christianity and Islam, there's going to be people that aren't going to accept this, and they're going to call them demons and everything else. I don't know what you do about that. I mean, their teachings, the televangelists that basically ripped them off all this money, these far right evangelicals, for instance, like, they're making, it's a business for them. They brainwash a bunch of people, tell them, hey, if you give, the more money you give us, the more money God will give you back, which is just total nonsense. People are fools. A lot of people are. I'm sorry to say that, but some people are fools when it comes to that kind of thing, to listen to these jokers. They're basically like carnival barkers, and people give them lots of money. I mean, some of these people are billionaires almost. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. You're going to have people running around thinking that I recently did a podcast and where I talked about how NASA has hired theologians to try to come up with ways to once the extraterrestrial reality is exposed to the world, to come up with ways that tell different religions of the world what this means, that it's okay, it doesn't affect your religion. So they're supposed to come up, but a lot of people who the YouTube version of for that video, there was a lot of responses, and a good chunk of them responses were people who were saying exactly what I said was going to happen. They're saying, yeah, it's demons, it's the Great Deception, and the Great Deception is coming. That's nonsense. Absolute bogus. But anyhow, yeah, that would be the only problem I would see, would be from far-right religions, far-right religious sects, cults, so you're going to get that. Outside of that, though, I really do believe racism. Could you imagine the beginning of the end of racism? Because right now it doesn't seem like we're anywhere near that. For some reason, there's a lot of us out there that just live their lives concerned about other people just because they look different. Like, what a waste of your life. Just think about that. If you're one of these people sitting back, like, there's so much. Why? What does it? Nothing matters. It doesn't matter what someone's skin color is, or where they come from. That none of this matters. That's not really important at all. But there's people out there, like, they're concerned, though. Again, people like that, their focus will shift. Their focus will shift on extraterrestrials. They'll be like that, and they'll start looking at all humanity, no matter what the color of their skin. They'll look at all humanity as, brothers and sisters. That's just my belief. Doesn't make me right. It will take time for to set in, a couple of generations, multiple generations maybe. I don't know. I just believe it would be the beginning of the end. And again, I believe that the world different countries would start working together a lot better. They would start respecting other countries, more. We would have to come up with a way to end, building weapons pointing at each other. That would have to stop at some point, you would hope. There would have to be no more fighting in the Middle East. All these things would have to come to. I believe that UFO disclosure will mark the beginning of the end for these things that just keep the human race in a pit. That, and it just seems, and it's scary to think of without UFO disclosure, it scares me to think where this is all heading. I believe and I believe there's a lot of people out there who are listening to this right now that some of you might have thought of this before, or maybe there's some people who never thought of it, but I'm telling you, just think about it. Think about what I'm saying. I think this UFO disclosure, not just, wouldn't just be a good thing for people, interested in this subject and interested in finding out about, what's out there, what's coming here, right? Like me, I know something's going on. I want to know more about it. But it would be good for the entire human race, because for a lot of reasons, including like I believe, ending racism, at least among earthlings. Okay, that again there would be a racism that would be focused on the aliens, and it's going to probably take thousands of years till we get over that. It would be another step, to some greater purpose, and it would end war on this planet or help to end it. You'd probably see, that probably wouldn't happen anymore, as not like it has in the past. I could be wrong, but again, this is all my opinion. Maybe it will be some of your opinion too.